Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and once again it is time for the Q&As, and I've already got my hat on so we can skip all that. So let's go ahead and get this started. First question. When do you start using chalk on deadlifts, if at all? Currently running your linear hypertrophy program, and my max was estimated without using chalk. Grip is just about to give out on last rep for set 2 and 3. Currently doing double overhand, no chalk or straps. All right, brother, good question. Chalk, you should be using chalk immediately. Chalk should not be seen as a crutch because chalk actually prevents injuries. Well, you need to understand when you're deadlifting any sort of heavy weight, the potential for bar roll is there, and if you have wet, sweaty hands or there's any moisture on your hands, your chances of tearing your hand is absolutely a very real possibility. It's a possibility you need to be concerned with, particularly with the double overhand grip. The double overhand grip is more prone to bar roll, so you need to be using chalk immediately. It's not something you need to wait on. It's something you need to get in the habit of doing every single time that you pull. And that includes every exercise that is a pulling exercise. You need to be using chalk when you do rows. And things as well. Barbell rows, you need to be using chalk. A power clean, you need to be using chalk. And again, you need to understand that the chalk is not just there for your grip. It's to help keep your hands from getting slippery, because again, moisture on your hands leads to potential tearing of the skin. So chalk is helpful, and it is overall helpful with the grip. Now, the fact that you're doing a double overhand for now, that's actually fine, because that needs to come up next. Double overhand grip is a good way to build grip strength. However, particularly not using chalk, it is going to predispose you to tearing skin on your hand easier, because the bar is going to roll easier that way. The reason we use the mixed grip is to reduce bar roll. Reducing bar roll makes it easier to hold on to the bar. So what you need to do, obviously keep doing the double overhand grip, switch to chalk, and when that becomes a problem to where your grip starts to give out, then it's time to go to a mixed grip. A lot of people are going to argue about muscle imbalances, safety with the mixed grip. I don't think it's that big of a deal. Learn to pull the slack out of the bar first. Use a method where you pull the slack out of the bar. Watch what I do on my deadlifts. And it really shouldn't be a problem. It should sort itself right out. It's not something you need to be concerned with, again, unless you've created a situation to where you're predisposed to bicep tears. Meaning not pulling the slack out of the bar, excessive amounts of curling to where you inflame the connective tissue of the bicep, and doing partial curls. People who do partial curls and don't lock out at the bottom are, in my experience, the people also most likely to tear a bicep deadlifting. So if you're worried about that, that's really how you resolve those issues. That's how you cut those risks down. But to summarize that, chalk immediately. Start chalking now. Chalk every time you pull, even on a barbell row. And when you need to go to mixed grip, switch over to mixed grip. But if you can continue to pull with double overhand grip just fine without grip becoming an issue, please continue to do so. It'll make your grip a little stronger in the long term. All right, next question. What should be your maximum average heart rate during the LISS cardio in order to prevent it from interfering with my full body strength training 3 times per week? By the way, I'm at intermediate strength levels. Keep up the great work. All right, like I've said before, adding any large amount of new cardio can interfere with strength initially, but in the long term, it'll benefit you. So to prevent it completely, if you just started doing cardio, you might not, although you could just gradually add it in. LISS cardio can be clearly defined with heart rate. You need to determine your maximum heart rate, which is generally going to be around 220 minus your age. So if you're 20 years old, that's going to be 220 minus 20, that's 200, right? For me, I turned 40 in less than 2 weeks, so we'll count me as 40. My max heart rate needs to be 180 during exercise. LISS cardio is generally where you're in the range of 50% to 70% of your maximum. So if that's 200 for you, that means your heart rate needs to be 50 to 70% of that. That means between 100 and 140 beats per minute. For me, that's going to be a little bit lower than that. It's going to be 80 to around 120-ish for someone my age. So you can calculate it based on that. So remember, maximum resting heart rate is, of course, 220 minus your age. LISS cardio generally puts you within 50 to 70% of your maximum heart rate. Pretty straightforward. Yeah, basic math there. So you got it. All right, next question. I have been running a novice program somewhat briefly after returning to the gym after some time off. I now want to switch to the Texas method. If I were to switch too soon before possibly all my novice gains are completely milked, do I take a change of detraining from the recovery day? Should I run a novice program longer just in case? And do you maybe have some suggestions for the Texas method as far as assistance exercises go? All right, if you are capable of making novice gains and your goals are maximum gains or near maximum gains, and you need to run a novice program. Now, if you don't care about making maximum gains, and people need to realize not everyone cares about maximum gains, intermediate programs are easier to recover from if you're still in the novice phase. They're less taxing on your body. And that's what people need to realize. When you go from novice to intermediate to advanced, the new programs are actually easier, which is why you get away with them, because obviously a more advanced lifter can't handle the progression rate and sometimes even the workloads of a less experienced program, because they're stronger and they lift more weight and they can't gain strength as quickly, so they get buried very quickly with the workloads and the progression rates of the less advanced programs. If you're still kind of a late novice who could still milk out the novice gains, you can switch to an intermediate. You're going to make slower gains, but it's also going to be easier on you. So it depends on what you're looking for. Now, if you're trying to make the most gains possible over the next 6 months to a year, you need to milk out the novice program. It doesn't matter if you took downtime, you're still back in the novice phase. If you're able to progress correctly without overtraining on a novice program, continue to run one. Why wouldn't you? And then when you reach the intermediate stage, switch to something else. As far as the Texas method goes, now that you're out of the novice phase, this is where customization comes in. You tell me what accessories you need. Accessory work is there to, number one, help with weak points that you personally have developed as an individual. You have a weak point in an exercise, or you have a weak body part. Your accessory work should be selected based around your personal weak points. If you don't have any personal weak points, you have no weak links, and you don't need any accessory work. Remember, the whole purpose of accessory work is to improve upon your weaknesses in the areas you want to get more benefit from that are not being 100% addressed with the main exercises. All right, that's what they're there for, to catch up weak points in performance, joint angle specificity, or a weak body part, a weak muscle. That's the entire purpose of accessory work. If you don't have any of those, you don't need any accessory work. And if you have 3 different weak points that need to be addressed, you're going to need 3 different exercises to address those. I can't tell you what they are. You have to assess that for yourself. That's the whole point. You're intermediate. You have individual weak points. Novices, their whole body is weak, so they don't need accessories to deal with that. Everything's weak. They need to work on everything. Intermediates have more specialized needs in regard to that, so you have to figure them out for yourself. I can't tell you. And that's part of learning to be a better athlete and a better lifter, is to learn to honestly assess your weak points accurately and not just come in and do accessory points for the things that you think that you're strongest on. But, it is what it is. All right, next question. Can you please articulate more on why Layne's squat form is so bad? Basically, I'm asking about forward lean and at what point it becomes a problem. I have thought that as long as the bar stays over the midfoot and the lower back doesn't round, forward lean can be okay. Because he uses an excessive amount of forward lean. And what I mean an excessive amount of forward lean, that he goes so far beyond the acceptable level that every coach, strength and conditioning coach and powerlifting coach who watches that man squat cringes. I've even seen Ben Poluscu or whatever, Ben BPAC. Even BPAC made a public statement that I got screenshotted and sent to me, stating that Layne's injuries are primarily due to his horrific squat form. I've heard another strength and conditioning coach describe it as an abomination. His forward lean is so excessive that his squat turns into a good morning. All right, a lot of forward lean would be if your torso goes to 45 degrees. 45 degrees is considered a pretty large amount of forward lean. That's acceptable for a low bar squat. All right, that's acceptable for a low bar squat if you keep the bar from passing your midfoot. Layne goes way beyond that. He pretty much good mornings the squat up. And because he's done all of his insane meet winning squats that way, it's the technique that he's ingrained and that he's learned, and it's going to take him probably a year to unlearn it, to learn a different technique. He's not going to be able to squat shit until he unlearns it. And as a result of that, that is what has injured his back. That's what's going to continue to injure his back. And if he comes back to training again, and he continues to use that same horrifically bad squat form, which has damaged his lower back, he will be in a wheelchair probably the rest of his life. Layne is not as intelligent as people think that he is. And that's proven by watching his technique. Layne has gotten where he is in life because of his work ethic. All right, the guy has an insane work ethic, but he's also an egomaniac and a narcissist. And I've heard one of his former clients describe him as a psychopath. That's why they wouldn't work with him anymore. All right, but because of that, he has gotten where he is through hard work. He powered through school through hard work. He powers through his workout through hard work, but he isn't as intelligent as people think he is. He actually isn't. And the proof is the fact that he continues to injure himself and continues to refuse to listen to people more educated, more intelligent than him in the area, to the point to where he just ignored them and damaged his back after multiple injuries. And he isn't smart enough to learn from his mistakes. Same thing was noted even when he came after me. He didn't learn from his mistakes. He spent a fortune chasing me. And he never stopped. Without ever thinking through the potential consequences of that. It's just case after case. I mean, we can give lots of examples. The guy isn't intelligent. He really isn't as smart as people think that he is. I have known people who are very stupid who have PhDs. That's not always proof of a high intellect. He's proof of an insane work ethic, but he is too stupid to learn, and he will continue to hurt himself. That same squat form that you guys see him using, that way lurching forward, way beyond lower than even 45 degrees. Remember, a 45 degree forward lean is the limits. That's pushing it. That's borderline. You'll probably be okay with that. He goes way beyond that. And it's clear to see anytime you look at it. So yeah, he is going to break his back doing it. And, what more can you say? It's not like it's not self-imposed. When a dozen people who are experts tell you you're going to break your back doing something, you continue to do it. That's just Darwinism, basically. Some people just can't learn. And he's clearly one of those people. Because he's too egotistical to admit that he could have made a mistake, that he could be wrong. His ego won't let him do that. So that's what's going on there. All right, next question. I have been training without a powerlifting equipment for the last 6 months and was wondering what a smart protocol would be to transition into prepping for a powerlifting meet. For example, would you recommend doing linear progression for a short period of time in order for your lifts to get stable again? I ask because my body has gotten extremely accustomed to raw training and I have had difficulties with this in the past. Thanks, Jason. If you're going to do equipped lifting, no, I do concurrent training. If you've gotten really, really strong at raw lifts, you have a base strength line built, and you're going to switch over to do equipped again, I would run the conjugate method, also known as West Side Barbell. Go straight to the conjugate method. Go buy Louis Simmons' book, watch his seminars. I think that for raw lifters, the conjugate method is terrible. That's my opinion. But I think for equipped lifters, it is a time-proven protocol that has produced a ton of champions in equipped lifting. Louis tends to stay on top of all the best research, experiments a lot. And yeah, for equipped lifters, that's honestly where I would go. That's automatically the direction I would go to. Switch straight over to the conjugate method and just go right into doing it. The way Louis breaks it down. Don't deviate from Louis's programs. Buy the book. It's not that hard to find. Run the program the way that Louis breaks it down. Watch some of his lectures and seminars, and that's what I would do. I wouldn't do anything else, because the conjugate method will build you up for the equipped lifting correctly. Your raw lifts might even actually go down as a result of it, but your equipped lifting will start dramatically improving within a couple months on it. So definitely left side barbell conjugate method. That's what I would recommend. All right, that's really all I have to say on that today, guys. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time in part 2.